All right, Mama, let me get you in here. Let me show you what it looks like before I do any cutting and buffing. Actually looks pretty good, but you can see the trash. If you'll look at the light right in there, you can see the trash. A lot more trash than what I want when I paint, but at least, it happened in the top of this fender and the top of the other fender. The rest of the truck is actually really good. So that tells me that, well, I'm guessing the trash come from over in the hooded area, the way it was taped up or whatever. Could have been dry base coat trash that was on the plastic. When I tack down, I try to tack the plastic also to get any dry base coat trash. But anyway, it's trash in the clear coat. We got to get it out, and I wanted to do a before and after, kind of give you an idea. It's going to look probably about the same on the camera, but it'll be trash free, or at least I'm hoping that it'll cut out. If not, then the fender would have to be cut down and re-cleared, but I'm hoping that it don't come to that. Got a couple things different this morning that I'm going to try. This here is 2000 and 1500 from Empire Abrasives. It's actually made by Black Hawk Abrasives. It's a hook and loop. If you've ever done any wet sanding, if you're using a hard block like the back side of this, you've got to hold your paper. Hook and loop will hold it for you. So I'm going to cut a piece and try that. I'm going to cut a piece and try that and see how the hook and loop does. I haven't ever used it before, but it may not do good. I don't know. We'll just have to stay tuned and see. So let me get you back in here. As you can see, I've hit this just a couple minutes worth of work. You can see all the trash. But look right here. You can see where the block has sanded it smooth there, and it hasn't there. Well, a hard block, this is the purpose of hard blocks, like for body work. But if you use a hard block for cutting and buffing, it won't make the panel any straighter if the panel's not straight, but your clear is also uneven. So a hard block's gonna make your clear even. So if your panel is perfect and you take a hard block and you make your clear perfect, then it's gonna look really, really good. Now, I can switch sandpaper to a soft block and come back, and it will get rid of that where the hard block is missed or has, is leveling out. But it will try to ride over some of this trash. So the hard block's gonna cut it down to where a soft block is gonna ride over it, or if you fold the paper up and just use it on your hand, it's gonna ride over the lumps and bumps. With a hard block, when that piece of trash is sanded down, it's gone. So I could drop down to a coarser grit and get rid of this faster. But if I can knock the trash out in just a couple of minutes with 2000, then I only have to go to 3000 and then I'll buff. If I drop down in a coarse, then I've got to step it back up and use a guide coat. Right now, I know that that's just a 2000 grit scratch, unless for some reason a piece of trash or something gets in it and cuts a deeper scratch. I have had that to happen. I done a Chevelle a few years ago. The trunk lid had a couple bad scratches in it somehow, and I had to drop back down in grit to cut it out. But it takes time. Just take your time, a little soapy water, and cut it on out. So as you can see, just a little bit of work with 2000. Gotta get that orange peel down. and get the trash gone. You can see what awaits me. Orange peel, and then right in there's trash. It's not bad. It's nothing like what was in the tops of the fenders. You find the light, you can see the trash in it. Let me show you something else that's crucial to cutting and buffing. This right here. Now, I painted this truck, so I don't know what the body work, I don't know as far as how deep it is to the metal. I don't know how much primer they put on it. I don't know how much body filler they worked. But to give you an idea, 361 mils, not meals, shucks. I can't think. 25 micrometers make 1 mil. So you can divide that, 361, divide it by 25, and that'll tell you how many mils it is to the bare metal. Like I said, I don't know what, but the reason I say that is you can take a reading like of unsanded right here. If you do a readout, 382, and then you come in here and you've cut down with 2000, let's say you've cut 25 mils off or 25 microns off, that will let you know how much you're cutting down. I hate to start laughing. Oh me. But anyway, that will let you know what you're cutting down. So if you start off on this fender over here and it's 418 to the metal, if you cut it off with 2000 and it's 400, then you'll know that you cut 18 microns off. That will give you an idea, especially like for paint correction. If this vehicle had been brought in for me and they said, well, hey, we've got plenty of clear coat, we want you to paint correct or cut and buff it for us. That's what I would do, is I would go through before I got started and I would do a detailed map, an idea, like maybe 5 areas through here. I would cut it down with 2000, and then I would go back and check my same areas and get an idea of how much is cut off the top. So that is a crucial little tool right there to help, because what it's reading is down to the metal. So we know that we're 387 microns. So 387 microns divided by 25, that's 15 mils down to the panel. All right, if you don't know what a mil is, look on your trash bags. Like a really good trash bag will say 3 mils. That's what I use here at the shop. That's a really tough garage style trash bag. The one that's going to be in your kitchen is probably going to be a 1/2 mil. But a cellophane wrapper on a cigarette pack, that's 1 mil. So 25 microns is 1 mil. It's actually 25.4, I think. 25.4 microns is the thickness of 1 cellophane wrapper on a cigarette pack. Now, if you're listening to this and you're a smoker, you can pull that cellophane off and look and say, wow, that's thin. So if I if I was to cut down to 2000 over here and I've only removed 18 microns, then you'll know that, hey, he hadn't even cut off a full meal. He hadn't even cut off this thin cellophane wrapper. But that next fender over there, that's what I'll do, is I'll give an idea of what 2000 grit takes off. One other thing that I want to add to this video while I was thinking about it, see my little soap bubbles. So I've got water and a little bit of baby shampoo is what I had on hand. A few drops of it. If you put too much sandpaper, it will just glide over the soap bubbles, and you would have to put a lot of pressure to get it to cut because it's got to mash the soapiness out of the way. If you don't have enough, the sandpaper tends to stick and like suction cup to the panel and want to pull the block, out of you. Wants to stay as you're in motion. It wants to stick in one spot. So that's something that we'll have to be practiced with as far as how much to add, but you'll get it. All right, Mama, the whole top section of that fender is done, but I went over there and got out of my box. This is a True Blocks. Now, True Blocks, you can look them up online. They make a really good block kit. They stopped for a while, but they're back at doing it. The handle's normally higher. I cut it down because it's just, you don't have that excess in your hand. You see, you just grab it. Wet sanding is something that, in my mind, you need to have good control of. And this True Blocks is something that you can really, really control because of the way you can grab it with your fingers. It's comfortable. They're really comfortable using sanding primer. The only, I've still got the set. I still use them. The only thing that I've seen that happened to the set of mine is that rubber on a long block, it pulled the block backwards so that it had a slight crown that the center was digging in and the ends weren't. And they sent me a new set, but the second set done the same thing. So I ended up switching to, I actually bought the Lucky Mats kit, the Lucky Blocks, and they work good. But they've got tape on the handle, and it kind of fatigued my hands. So when Colton come out with the linear blocks, I ended up buying a set of those. So I've got every block, but that's for another day. So another thing that's really crucial for wet sanding is a good squeegee. This is one that come with some paint protection film that I bought. But you always want to know where you're at when you're sanding. If you wipe it with a dry rag, if the rag is dry, then yeah, it wipes it off and you can see where you're at relatively quick. But if you've done a lot of wiping, that rag starts to become wet, and when you wipe it, it will stay hazy, and you've either got to blow it dry or something like that. But the squeegee squeegees it dry. So that's another good little tool to have when cutting them. I'm sure you've seen the little short that you see it. Work wheeler stand. Check this out. That's what I bought it for right there. I can move that hood around any which way I want to without dragging it and with ease. That's what I'm talking about right there, Mama. If you hadn't got one, you definitely need one. All right, Mama, so I'm gonna call it a day. I have to say, pretty impressed with that paper. It really seems to cut good. When you put a piece on the block, it sands and sands and sands. It really does good. So let me show you this is what I've used today. This was just a little old piece of Durablock that was cut off. And in tight spots, when I'm dry sanding something, you know, I stick it to this. But I put Velcro, stuck Velcro to this so that the Velcro paper would stick. And that's the same thing all of these blocks have got. Velcro stuck to them so that the paper will stick, and as you sand, it don't try to pull out of your hand. So the little flat hard block, every block is crucial. You know, could you sand the whole truck down with just one block? Yeah, but when you get into needing to get in close quarters somewhere, you know, if you had just a big block, then you're going to have to use your hand, and that's just not the same as actually, you know, using a block. So all I've got left on this is just this corner. That'll give you, you can see I'll try to get it finished up, buffed tomorrow, and then that will give a reference of what 2000 will do. The old hood looked pretty good. It sands out good. I got to get around those ribs good, but all in all, it's pretty good. Looks pretty good. So, like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm really excited with the paper. I bought this from Empire Abrasives offline. It's made by Black Hawk Abrasives, which I also use some of their other products. Their grinding disc and stuff like that. So tomorrow I'll finish up this and hit it with some 3000 on the DA, and then I'll buff it. Well, we can kind of get a visual. The client, he'll probably be by tomorrow. If I can come in the morning and get this buffed, that'll give him something to really grin at. I really appreciate everybody that has watched. The channel is growing, like 1,407 subscribers this morning. Lot to do though on this old truck. Probably won't wet sand all the way down unless he just wants to spend the money for that. Probably will sand over, you know, like to right in there. One panel in on each side, and then all the way down. The rest of it will be covered up by the bed. And then there's a lot of square inches there, Mama. Y'all stay tuned.